Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. I've got a virus, so you'll have to excuse my voice. It's a little scratchy right now. If you're watching this video, I'm making this video for a while I'm gone. I'm going to a Boston Red Sox New York Yankees game the week that this video is going to air, and there's probably not going to be a what to buy video that week because of my travel schedule. So in the event that that does not happen, at least I've got a few videos pre-made just for you. And today is going to be covering mint on card vintage Star Wars figures. Most of them are graded, some ungraded, some auctions, some buy it nows. I believe that they might all be auctions. I can't remember. Let's go ahead and dig in. They're kind of all over the map. I don't have these in order of release date or anything like that. Let's start with a couple of mini rigs that I thought sold for a steal. These were over in the UK. And this is the Return of the Jedi Vehicle Maintenance Energizer mint and sealed box UKG 85, and it sold for about 120 US, even with shipping to the US. You're talking about 150 bucks. That's a pretty awesome deal for a graded mini rig mint and sealed box. Here's the tripod laser cannon from the same seller, and that sold for about the same price, 116 US dollars, 92 pounds plus shipping. But man, those are some really good deals. Those fell underneath the radar. Here was a 12-back C R2-D2. This was a punched example, graded AFA 80, 80, 85, 85 were the sub-scores, and it sold for $3,050. That seems like a massive, massive number to me. I'm trying to understand why that is. This was the Hong Kong, and it was a punched example. I don't know what's going on in the upper right, if that's sticker residue or, just reflections in the photos. But $30.50. I mean, I remember not too long ago you could get a 12C R2-D2 for more like, I don't know, 12 to 1,500 bucks. So 12 backs continue to hold their price pretty well, but I was shocked by that final sales price. That seems like a lot. Here was a Palitoy Lobot Yellowed Blister UKG 85%. This one was a 41 back, but it's got that Palitoy logo on there. It sold for 340 pounds, which is $431. Unpunched example. If that was clear blister, I think you could probably talk about $600 to $800. Anything with that ESB with the Palitoy logo on the front, they tend to command big money. Although, in all fairness, CIB/AFA, they had a number of examples that sold here recently. I don't know if that video is aired yet. I think it will be by the time this one airs. But they had a Palitoy TIE Fighter pilot that sold for about $800, but the other two sold for cheap. There was a 4-LOM yellowed blister that sold for like $300 or $400, and then a clear blister AFA graded Palitoy Bespin security guard that sold for $300 or $400. So it's kind of hit or miss as to what is commanding the big money, but that's kind of in line with those other two that sold from AFA/CIB. One of them with a yellowed blister, one of them with a clear blister. Next up was an interesting one. This is a U.S. Kenner card, 48 back, but it had the Palitoy sticker on the back, as you can see in the photos right here. So this is not an uncommon item. You can see that sticker that's placed over to replace the address for where you send in the proofs of purchase. And so this was a U.S. Kenner card released over in the UK. And it did have a yellowed blister. It was graded by UKG 80%. Punched example, no price sticker. That sold for 256 pounds, which is $324 US dollars. Just light yellowing to the blister. I thought that was a pretty fair deal for a transition card. C3PO removable limbs. Here was another gem. It was slightly yellowed, but it was an AFA 80 41 back E Hoth Snow Trooper. I feel like those continue to hold their value very well. Unpunched, no price sticker. That sold for $789. So pretty big number there. I would imagine that a clear blister would have approached $1,000 very easily, but that just had very light yellowing, just kind of a timeless card image there. Absolutely great. I love that card image. It's beauty. Next up was EV99. It was only a 70 grade Power of the Force archival case, but it sold for $649, which seems a little high to me. In all fairness, the blister was pretty clear relative to some other examples, so that maybe drove the price up a little bit. But it only got to 70 because it had either a crease or it was all the way torn at the hang tab. But 649, I mean, to me, that seems a little high. It did have two high subscores, 80 and 85. It was labeled yellow blister, but obviously it was towards the clearer end of the range for a yellow blister. Maybe just the inner tray was yellowed. I don't know. But 649 seems high to me. To me, I would take slightly more yellowing to the blister with a higher overall grade. But that's just me. Here was a 47 back free 4-lom offer, unpunched Luke Farm Boy. Obviously a yellowed blister, but overall pretty good shape. It looked pretty clean, and that one sold for $1,000, $1,005. So big number on that one. And then the same seller also had a 41 back Luke X-Wing, and this one did have some sticker shadow from where the sticker was removed. No litho damage, but obvious residue there. Probably gets a 75 for the card, just given kind of the scuffing and things like that to it. But back of the card also had some pretty moderate scuffing. So I think 75, 80, 85, something like that. Has an outside chance at an 80, but I think it probably realistically is a 75 plus because of the card condition. Just enough scuffing. I just feel like it's enough scuffing with the sticker residue that to me, my gut says 75 plus. Still, it's a clear blister, very nice item. We've seen some big numbers here recently for ESB Luke X-Wings, so 406 is very fair, I think, for the condition of that one. Next up is a 32 back B Yoda clear blister. Obviously, it had a little bit of litho damage from the sticker partially being removed, unpunched, but clear blister, maybe a ding or two at the top of the blister, hard to tell there. But pretty decent shape. That one sold for $393, which is kind of in line with what I would expect, $350 to $400. My only concern is up here. You can see there that the blister is starting to pull away from the card back. And maybe we see more of that as time passes and these items continue to get older. That factory glue or factory seal starts to fail. But very clearly it's starting to get some bubble lift in the upper left, which could affect it. But just always zoom in on these photos and look for that kind of litho tear starting to happen. It's not that it can't be graded. It's just that something you need to be aware of is that, it's starting to lift away from the card back. $393 on that one. And then the same seller also had a 31 back C-3PO that was very nice. Lionel price sticker, always nice to see that. And it did have a crease in the lower right-hand corner. That sold for $332, which I thought was a good deal for a clear blister C-3PO. Next up was a 77A Luke Jedi Knight graded AFA 80. Moderate yellowing to the blister. 75 for the card, 80 for the blister. And is that a 90? It is a 90 for the figure score. So very nice. $435 on that. That was a pretty good deal, I think. Anytime you can find a Luke Jedi mint on card already graded in high grade, even with fairly moderate yellowing like that, $435 is a pretty good deal. That's not a bad deal at all. Next up, we're going to finish off, I believe, this video with some items from Collectible Investment Brokerage /AFA. They had another mini lot. I didn't include all of them that ended on June 23rd, but they were enough that I thought we'd touch on some of the highlights. This was a 20-back A Death Squad Commander graded AFA 80. And it's a little high. I mean, I'm shocked that it went for $1,525, but again, we got the CIB AFA factor, right? It probably attracts some international buyers. They know that they're going to get the item properly and delivered quickly. That's the other thing about CIB is that when you buy from them on eBay, they send it by UPS like next day. I mean, I usually get my items a day or at most 2 later. And in all fairness, I am like one state up. I'm in Tennessee. AFA/CIB's in Georgia, but I've gotten orders from them the next day before, and it's very reasonable cost. It's super cheap, probably because of them taking advantage of the economies of scale and bulk shipping rates that they get from UPS for their grading services. So you get a really good deal if you wait, and they mention that now on their auctions. This is wait for us to calculate UPS's shipping. We'll send you an invoice and you get a big discount on the shipping. And even after I paid before, they've sent me a refund. So if you do buy anything from CIB in the future, don't pay immediately. Wait for them to send you an invoice, and it'll be the discounted rate. So it's a good deal that they offer. But I think $15.25 is more than I'd pay. You know, I'd probably pay up to $1,000, maybe $1,100, but $15.25 seems high to me. It's just not a number I would be comfortable with, but it is a beauty. I mean, it was a really, really nice Death Squad commander, so I can understand why somebody paid up. It's just more than I expect. It's about 50% more than what I expected it to go for. Next up, the Bespin Security Guard, graded AFA 80+. This was a 31 back A, which I believe is the debut card, and that was a stunner, clear blister. It looks clear to me anyway. I don't see any yellowing to it. And unpunched, no price sticker for $545. That was a good deal. Very, very good deal on that. That's a price I'd pay. Luke Bespin, here was another, I thought, very fair price. This was a 31 back B, 80, 85, 80. And you could maybe argue that the reason it stayed below $1,000, I was kind of expecting 1,200-ish at a minimum, but it was punched, and it did have some sticker residue. I believe that's what that is right here in the right below the name pill. So that probably held the price back just a little bit, maybe a little bit of yellowing going on, or it just could be, you know, residue or dirt around the seal. But still, $985 is a good price. That's a very, very attractive price point for a 31 back B Luke Bespin. About as good as you're going to find, really, for an AFA 80. Here was a Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider mint on card with the Boba Fett coin offer. Unpunched, little bit of sticker residue there. It was only AFA 70, unfortunately. Card 70, blister 85, figure 85. And again, I think it got the 70 grade because of some wear around the hang tab and then the sticker residue and litho damage by the Return of the Jedi logo. Some other creases, things like that. By no means perfect, but it is the harder to find Hollow Cheeks. You can see the little divots on the Tusken Raider's cheeks. So, you know, just loose complete figures can go for $400 to $450 in near mint condition. This one was mint on card for $720. And, you know, higher grade mint on card, probably closer to $1,000, if not even above that, depending on who's offering. Harder to find coin offer on the card back as well. I think almost all, if not all, of the Return of the Jedi Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raiders are on that 65 back, or some iteration of the 65 back. Maybe they come on 77 backs, but every Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider that I've seen on a Return of the Jedi card back has been on, and I think they all are. I don't think there are any ESBs or earlier card backs, but that's just on memory. I could be totally wrong on that, but pretty much everyone I've seen, if not all of them, have been on the 65 back. But $720 is not a bad deal at all for a mint on card Tusken Raider Hollow Cheeks. Here was a clear, labeled clear blister. I mean, you could maybe make an argument there. I think I would make the argument that in the upper left, this blister is yellowing. But it was graded clear blister, 85, 85, 80 for the B-Wing pilot, unpunched, no price sticker, $432.50. Again, you're paying for the label. I think at that price point, it's got some obvious light yellowing, in my opinion, to the blister to it, and it's probably going to yellow even further. And I think they all will eventually. But this was a 77 back A B-Wing pilot, $432.50, more than I'd pay. I'd probably go 300-ish. That's probably about the max I'd pay on it, but certainly a nice example. Next up was a Han Solo trench coat, obvious yellowing to the blister, AFA 80+. This was the plain lapel. The more common has been my experience for the Han Solo trench coat is the plain lapel mint on card. Unpunched, $305 on that one. That's about market. Next up, I think I like this one the best. I mean, I know it's labeled yellowed blister. It's an AFA 80+ Stormtrooper, but it mentions on the label taped blaster. And I think that's kind of a cool variation because usually, to my knowledge, the Stormtrooper mint on card comes with the blaster in his hand. In this case, it was taped to the side of the blister. And to be honest, that's the first time I've seen that label before. So I thought that was a really interesting item. 77 back B with just very light yellowing to the blister. And $448, that's a price I'd pay. That's a very, very nice item. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect. It's got an 80 for the figure score because it's starting to yellow on the figure. Probably will get worse again. But just a cool variation for the blaster and how it was packed into the blister and the fact that it was noted by the AFA label. I thought that was really cool. $448. And then finally was a Boba Fett AFA 70. Obviously, the card had some major creases, but it was a clear blister and it was a Taiwan You can see there on the back of the card, made in Taiwan. So Taiwan and clear blister. So people are going to pay up for it, even though it's of an overall 70, 80, 85. You get two, very high subscores. Clear blister. Man, that is nice. So $1,700 took that home. I think in higher grade, if this was an 80, for example, $2,500 to $2,800 would be my guess on the fair market value, if not higher. It could go to $3,000 with the clear blister. So I know that Boba Fett Mint on Card has come down a lot, as we've talked about numerous times on the channel. But to get the harder to find Taiwan clear blister, even with the lower grade, I thought $1,700 was probably appropriate. Would I have paid it? No, I would not, but I'm a cheap SOB. So, but whoever got it, I thought it was a very nice item. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales for Mint on Card vintage Star Wars action figures. Thank you as always for watching. Please leave me a like, and I'll be back soon.